All right, guys. So once again, we got to react to another feminist versus anti-feminist debate that got very, very, very heated when it came to the topic of whether or not feminism includes trans women, which in my opinion is an extremely silly question, okay? Because I don't think that feminism can include men, right, or biological men. But hey, these are the topics of debate in 2023 because we're living for Cocoa Puff world. So I want to go ahead and react to this because Jabuli decided to, I guess, do this after another debate was done by, I think Vice did a debate, okay, with feminists versus anti-feminists. So, you know, apparently this is, you know, a huge kind of debate that's going on here. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism.
Again, such a silly question, but this is 2023. These are the debates that we're having.
You surprised to see me here?
No.
Okay, good.
You know, it's really important to include trans women and trans people and gender nonconforming people, which, by the way, I am gender queer myself. I don't actually identify as a woman. It's really important that those of us who do have privileges like speak up for trans women in the community, especially because they're the most at risk for hate crimes.
I also want to just level.
Says who? Right? Says who? It seems to me everybody's at risk for hate crimes. Okay. When did it become that trans people are the most targeted people in this country? Okay, because one day is blacks, right? Another day is Asians. Okay, another day is, you know, this group or that group. But it seems like every single time there's this conversation about trans people, there's always a deflection of criticism, and they always say, well, you can't really criticize them because they're the most victimized group in this country. And again, I need some facts and statistics to actually back this up.
Set and say that we are having this conversation without trans women, right? We are sitting here today having that conversation without trans women.
Yeah, do we know that for sure? Right? I'm not sure. Okay, allegedly, all these women have vaginas. Okay, allegedly, we cannot jump to assumptions in 2023. Surgery can do wonders for some of these people.
I identify as trans.
She identifies as non-binary, and she's on a feminist panel.
My pronouns.
So maybe she doesn't belong here either. They don't belong here.
Plot twist, I am biologically female and I'll never deny that. I lived as a woman for most of my life. I am 31. I only came out a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time, you know, the majority of my life in these spaces with women. That does give me a kind of unique perspective now being a trans non-binary person.
There's an issue with categorizing womanhood as a means of female. Earlier, it was mentioned by somebody on the anti-trans side about trans women coming in and taking over sports and things like that, which is just not true.
That is true.
It's not.
It is. I can show you a number of cases. There might be people that also haven't.
No, I can show you a number.
Trans women retain 30% of their biological advantage.
That is not
if
true.
they went through male puberty. Yes, it is.
That is.
Yes, it is.
That is not.
Let's not argue it. That's not even the prompts. We're not going to argue about that.
Because you're wrong.
If you are a trans woman and you walk out in the world and you are seen as a man, you do not belong in women's spaces. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's ridiculous, and I think even trans women that have gender dysphoria that go through transition will agree with me.
This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back over there if you really wanted to.
I'm uncomfortable, therefore we shouldn't have this conversation. And again, I can't believe this person really does not believe that a biological male who undergoes puberty, okay, in which, you know, they increase bone density, they increase the length of their limbs, muscle mass, all of that, right? Things that are basically irreversible, okay? Characteristics that are irreversible. This person really believes that, oh, they don't retain that after undergoing hormone treatments and surgery, when it's like, no, they definitely retain some of these biological features, for sure, 100%. Again, if you see most trans women that went through male puberty, you can kind of tell, right? You can tell that, you know, hey, they're a little bit more manly than most women. Now, again, there's some exceptions. Like always, you got little Asian boys, right? They'll go through it, and you can't tell that there was a boy before, a male before, because they already, were kind of feminine. Okay, so there are exceptions, but for the most part, yeah, I think that boys that undergo male puberty do retain a lot of it even after going through transition.
Yeah.
Ooh. If we took all of that off the table, right? If we're not talking about who can play sports with whom, can people exist as who they are?
Yes, absolutely. But that doesn't mean they get special rights and privileges, right? You can exist. Nobody's denying a trans person's right to exist. I've never come up here and advocated for banning people from, cutting off their penis, right? Or their breast, unless they're children. Obviously, I'm going to advocate for children not to be able to do that. But if a grown adult wants to do that, fine. But we should not try to restructure the rest of society to capitulate to a very small minority of people. They should have to capitulate to the majority. Okay? That's the argument. Just because you're not allowed to use the bathroom that doesn't match your sex or your genitalia doesn't mean that you don't have a right to exist. You definitely have a right to exist. You're existing. Nobody is, trying to take your life. Okay. Nobody's saying that you shouldn't exist. Nobody's saying that you should be burned at the stake. People are just simply saying you don't get special rights and privileges. And again, these people really do believe that if you don't want to give them special rights and privileges, therefore you're saying they don't have the right to exist. And this is how leftists argue, right? They'll use the most extreme thing possible in order to shut down debate. They'll accuse you of going to the extreme, right? Rather than actually participating in the real debate, which is that, okay, does it make sense for 80, 90, 95% of society to try to capitulate to less than 1%? It doesn't make sense. They don't want to engage in that debate.
Absolutely.
It sounded like you were saying if a trans woman doesn't look like what you perceive as looking like a woman, they shouldn't be in feminist spaces.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be in female spaces.
Okay.
Not feminist spaces.
Okay.
I think women...
I disagree with that, but
that's
okay.
fine. It makes sense to biologically classify people. It also makes sense to socially classify people. Let's say my friend Blair White was sitting right here. It's my buddy. I love her. She's sitting right here. Do I think she lives her life as a man? No. Like we were talking about men making decisions for women as far as abortions are concerned. That's something she'll never experience.
There are women who biologically cannot produce. There are females, people assigned female at birth, who biologically cannot produce. Are you saying that those female women should not be able to have say in those laws?
That's not what I'm saying at all. I guess my main issue with trans women being seen as women and not being seen as trans women is they're changing the definition of women and expecting everybody to go along with that. And that affects me, yes they are, and that affects me directly. You say trans women are women are trans women. It's a very different experience.
Trans women are women.
We're just gonna agree to disagree with that. If you ask feminists at a women's march what a woman is, they can't even define it. How can you protect something and empower something that you don't even know the actual definition of?
Facts. Facts. If you don't know the definition of it, you can't really protect it. Which again, this is why the abortion conversation has become so silly. Okay, because apparently being pro-life is also transphobic as well too, right? Because these people can't define what a woman is, so therefore they have to throw trans women in there who can't get pregnant as people that are being affected by the GOP laws on abortion. And they also got to throw trans men in there as well too, because they're actually biologically female, so they can get pregnant despite the hormones for the most part. Again, probably not a safe pregnancy, but they can get pregnant. But again, that's when they run into another conundrum, because they say that trans men are actually men, which would mean that men should have a say over abortion. Right, which they say that men shouldn't have a say, right? Men should not be controlling women's bodies except if you're a biological female that wants to be a man, in which at that point, according to the wokes, then you're actually a biological man, according to them, right? Which, again, you get what I'm saying, okay? It makes no sense whatsoever. It makes no sense whatsoever, which, again, is a funny conversation, right? It really is. These people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Well, I will say J.K. Rowling calls herself a feminist and was canceled for not being pro-trans, which is kind of overtaking and reversing some of the work feminists have done in the past.
She's a billionaire.
Well, they criticize her.
Fine.
She's fine. Oh, her billionaire feelings are hurt. I'm so saddened for her.
Feminist movement does not allow anyone to have any other opinions but what you guys
But what
think
does
is
that
correct.
mean, though? Because she's allowed to have that opinion, and she still makes a bunch of money.
Yes, she does.
What do trans women take away from women in the feminist movement?
The definition of words and what that means and how that affects us directly.
And their right to be in spaces that just involve females, right? For example, like sports, for females to compete fairly amongst other females who are more biologically similar to them. Now, again, obviously there's genetic variations in which there's some women that will be born that naturally are going to have more testosterone and stuff like that. They're going to have advantages, but they're closer biologically. Therefore, they're allowed to at least compete on a somewhat fair playing field among other women, rather than having a biological male who woke up and decided that, hey, I want to be a woman, or a girl compete against them, right? You're taking away a woman's or a female's, right to, be in their own space, which is something that women have had for all of history. Okay. We've segregated men and women. Okay. And, I think that we do that for a reason. It makes sense. Okay.
Can
you expand on that?
Yes. When you change the word woman legally, it has implications. Okay. Sexually, it has implications.
But the word woman has changed throughout histories, throughout different cultures. Indigenous people have had different genders, different ways of looking at gender. The Torah specifically has 8 different genders, and we have recognized that for over 3,000 years. You're denying.
I never heard that one, right? The Torah has 8 different genders. Again, some Jewish person. I guess that's technically the Old Testament too, right? I'm gonna have to look into that. We gonna have to look into that. And I did look into it. And the book that she's actually referencing is the Talmud, right? Not the Torah, okay, or the first 5 books of the Old Testament. It's not that. It's the Talmud. Now, Jews, they can deal with that, okay? That's their thing. I don't know all that much about the Talmud, but I looked it up. Who knows? Maybe, she's on to something there with that, okay? But we're talking about the Talmud here, okay? Not the Torah.
Denying anybody's culture that does not agree with your perception and your worldview, because you hold so highly onto your identity and you see it as an attack on who you are.
So do all of
on sexual orientation.
So feminists as a whole.
But it's nothing to do with sexual
It has exactly to do with sex. When you change the word woman, and a lesbian is a woman that is attracted to women, how is that not directly affecting us?
What defines a woman is being born with biological women's parts, and that is what a woman is. And trans women are individuals who choose to live their lives as women, and I honor that. And everyone deserves dignity and respect, and I mean that. But at the same time, there are universal truths, and we have, as a society, gotten to this confusing tangled place where there's your truth, your truth, your truth, your truth. There is one objective truth in what we are.
Can you explain to me the women in Guatemala who are born female, who are assigned female at birth, and then during puberty grow penises?
I can't explain it because I don't know anything about
that. Sounds like an intersex condition.
Yeah, so this is what these people do. Again, they take the most extreme thing possible, right? Something that affects, 0.01% of society, right? And they try to say, oh, see? Smoking gun. Your argument's destroyed. Let me take the most extreme thing. This doesn't apply to 99% of people. 99% of the time, people are born correctly, okay? As in, females have XX chromosome and a fully formed functional vagina. Man has XY chromosomes and a fully formed functional penis. Again, they don't want to talk about the norm. They want to talk about the extreme to try to prove their point.
You try to, again, how feminists always try to tell us how we should live our life. I said I was a raging feminist. She goes, I don't believe that.
I don't see that. I don't in what you've been saying. I can't see any traces of feminism in what you're saying.
What are the traces of feminism in what you're saying? You are literally defending a biological man's right to dominate and be in women's spaces, to define feminism and what it means to be a woman. But you're saying that this person, what they're saying, there's nothing feminist about what they're saying or whatever, right? Again, it really blows my mind. I don't understand how anybody can call themselves a feminist can defend this stuff. It really blows my mind. It really does. Again, you're more woke, right, than you are actually feminist.
Literally,
we heard a lot about your mom, but what about you?
I am a woman. Looking at me, I am a woman, born and raised a woman. Why are we trying to write women, born biological women? Why are you trying to write us out of history?
You guys keep saying that there's a biological reality of male and female. Scientists do not agree with you.
Scientists that you choose to agree with. I mean, you can find a study and a scientist to back up anything you want to prove these days.
I choose to do peer-reviewed studies and not ones that are backed by political agenda.
Yeah, anything I don't agree with, right, is backed by a political agenda. Even though I guarantee you, take out the wokeness, right? If you ask a medical professional, scientists, geneticists, whatever, are there two sexes, right? They're going to tell you, yes, right? Male and female, okay? That's the way it's been. That's the way it's always going to be. Or, well, who knows? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's the way it is for the most part. Again, these people are not living in reality. They're just not.
And I'm sorry that my peer-reviewed studies tend to agree with the fact that trans women are women and that biology, it does not exist in a binary. Never has and it never will.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is modern day feminism, guys. Protecting the patriarchy, right? Again, they want a future where men are dominating beauty pageants. They're dominating women's sports. They're dominating any role that has traditionally belonged to women. Men are taking over, right? Including intelligence games like Jeopardy, right? And the best female woman ever on Jeopardy was a man, right? It's a biological man. Amazing. Okay, this is the future that they want while protecting women, right? The rights of women and making progress for women. Cougar for Cocoa Puff World. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.